I'm Emily P. Freeman, and welcome to The Next Right Thing. You're listening to episode 372. This is a podcast about making decisions, but also about making a life. If you struggle with decision fatigue, chronic hesitation, or if you just need a few minutes away from the constant stream of information and the sometimes delightful but distracting hum of entertainment, you're in the right place for discerning your next right thing. I'm an author, a spiritual director, and an occasional workshop leader. I live in North Carolina with my family, and through my work, I've helped thousands of spiritually thoughtful people overcome decision fatigue so that they can discern their next right thing in faith, work, and life. Today, I'm exploring one of the things I crave that has nothing to do with food: a desire for space, body, mind, and soul. Here are some ways clearing space is helping me in my decision-making life. Listen in. So I've been seeing those ads on Instagram lately asking me if I feel dissatisfied with my fashion and telling me if the answer is yes, then the problem is likely that I'm not dressing for my archetype, which I have no idea what that means. I've also been fed quizzes to see where in the world I'm supposed to live based on my personality, something to do with latitude or the stars or the tides or something I do not know. Now, before you think that I'm blaming Instagram for these ads, I do realize the algorithm is not telling me about Instagram, it's telling me about me. Clearly, it is picking up on the fact that I have been looking at things having to do with clothes and fashion and other things having to do with beautiful places and cities in the world, really any kind of content that will serve as a counterweight to the current stream of bad news in the headlines. By the way, if you want more guidance about what it means to look for counterweights, might I direct you to one Shannon Martin, author of Start with Hello and The Ministry of Ordinary Places, who just announced her next trade book is due to come out in March. And that trade book is called Counterweights, an essential practice for holding hope in a heavy world. Shannon's encouragement to name the weights and the counterweights is one of the primary practices that is saving my life this year, reminding me how to have hope with integrity, the kind that can see the light without denying the reality of the shadows. Now, I can take that too far, I'll be the first to admit. If I'm feeling sad, overwhelmed, angry, or lonely, I can overindulge in both the weights and the counterweights, gathering too much information from the shadows, or saturating my imagination with things that keep me distracted and disengaged from reality. Both can leave me feeling numb, checked out, angry, and irritable. So if that's something that you can relate with, want to learn more about, want to learn how to better practice, y'all just go ahead and pre-order Shannon Martin's book, Counterweights. She is the queen of teaching us this, and I cannot wait to read that book in full. Well, just so you know, I never took the archetype quiz or the where should you live in the world based on whatever things quiz. One of the things that saves me from taking those online quizzes too many times is that when I mindlessly do things on the internet, I'm always snapped back into reality the second somebody asks for my email address. But so I didn't take the quiz, but it has got me thinking about this idea of where and how we feel most like ourselves and why that even matters. I don't know if Central North Carolina is the place in the world most aligned for me according to whatever metrics the online quiz uses to calculate that kind of alignment. But I do know it's where I live now and where I'm going to likely stay. Our city's surrounded by beautiful green trees, and soon those leaves will begin to turn and fall away as autumn approaches. But in the spring, summer, and much of the fall, the part of the city I live in is mostly hidden under a canopy of trees. And I love this. And also, I crave the open sky, to be able to look at something distant. Sure, the horizon line at the coast would be great, that line of mirrored blues where the sky meets the sea. But I'm telling you, a wheat field or a cornfield would do just fine too. I don't think I would feel at home in a place without leafy green trees, so I don't want to get rid of them, but I do crave open space and a distant view. In fact, you might know this, but on a list of ways to calm your nervous system, right there with box breathing, exercise, being out in nature, this is on the list, looking at something far away. One reason this helps your nervous system is because it allows the eye to relax certain muscles and to see distance without as much effort than is required to see things up close. According to Psychology Today and Andrew Huberman, who is a neuroscientist at Stanford, focal vision demands close up and laser focus, but panoramic vision, when you look at something far away, is associated with calmness and the reduction of stress. Maybe you've heard the 20-20-20 rule, where every 20 minutes you're supposed to take 20 seconds to look at something 20 feet away. It's something that optometrists recommend sometimes to help reduce eye strain, but we can also practice the same concept in other ways and reap different kinds of benefits. Without a coastline or a cornfield, I'm always looking for ways to create visual space in my everyday life, even if it's tiny. And here are a few. First up, cleaning off my workspace at the end of the day. Whether you work from home or go into an office or a classroom, the desk clean off for me is a gift to my future self. Although clearing off the desk does trigger to my brain that the day is over, it's mostly helpful for the next time I arrive at the desk in the morning. So it's helpful at night, but it's also helpful the next day. The clutter of the workspace holds energy and emotion. So clearing that off at the end of the day is just a tiny way of reminding myself what I can leave in this day without carrying it into tomorrow. Number two, making my bed every morning. I have never, ever, ever, ever been a person who wakes up and makes my bed. That has not been my life. I don't know what to tell you about this except that it's true, and I am not proud of it. But just like many things in life, this simple act that takes less than 5 minutes is a nod to my need for visual space several times every day. And the times that I experience the gift of making my bed in the morning is when I first make it. Then when I come back into the room after showering and see it there, when I run back upstairs to get something during the day, that may happen anywhere from 1 to 100 times. And then when I come back into my bedroom at night, that's at least 4 times a day where my need for space is met in this little tiny way. And number 3, keeping the kitchen table clear. This is not always possible, but for years, I always had something in the center of our kitchen table, a fruit or a plant. So sometimes it's just decorative. But these days, unless we're using it, I like to keep it clear and ready for whatever the day might hold. For you, it might be an island, a breakfast nook, a table near the door that you want to use as a daily drop zone that gets cleared every single evening. Is there a physical space where you live that you can clear on the regular to signal to your body and to your mind, this is a tiny new beginning? Now, of course, we know none of this is a call to perfection, and it does not always work. If you have tiny children, if you're in the middle of a big work project, if you're in the midst of home repair project, which is so great, but also, oh my gosh, there's so many people coming in and out of your house all the time. If you're packing for a trip or unpacking from a move, there are countless seasons of life where clearing the space is not always physically possible. But where it is possible, find it, practice it, and see if it makes a difference. If you too, like me, have been craving space. But I will also say, let this be a reminder to not just clear space on the outside, but to clear a little clutter on the inside too. Here's what that could look like. Number 1, stack silence. Maybe you drive the carpool and the way to school is loud. What if you held silence on the way back home? Maybe you get up before your housemates just by a few minutes, and instead of reading or scrolling or listening, you just sit and drink your hot drink. It does not have to be for very long. Find something you're already doing every day, and instead of stacking it with sound, a podcast, music, responding to voice memos, try stacking it with something different. Try taking something away by stacking it with silence. Number 2, write the mind clutter. When I'm craving space in my mind, I must write down, brain dump style, everything on one list. Now, if it's a to-do list that's cluttering up your mind, I always like to recommend Kendra Adachi's brain dump system, where she encourages us to write down everything as it comes to mind in one giant list, and then you put them in 4 categories. Now, things that cannot wait. Soon, things that need to be done within the week. Later, things that can wait but not forever. Or maybe my favorite category, which is never, because there are always things on our mental list that are to-do list things that might actually not matter to us, and we can just cross them off undone. Hallelujah. Thanks to the Lazy Genius for that fantastic categorization hack for the to-do list. But guess what? We can do this for our worries as well. Because often my lists are not straight up action items, but are also existential questions. So my list will be like, get bananas, take the load to the Goodwill, email Lisa, figure out how to release that nagging sense of shame and overwhelm, stop overparenting, show up in a way that you've never shown up before, be braver, have courage. You get the idea. So writing it all down and then either categorizing it for now, soon, later, or never helps me name what matters and what doesn't. Number 3, trade calculation for contemplation. Now, this will feel impossible at first, but it's a powerful practice, one I believe Jesus was referring to in Matthew 6:28, when he said, "Observe the lilies of the field, how they grow. They do not labor, nor do they spin." This word observe means to consider carefully, to learn fully. These are contemplative postures, and we're invited to put them on. Richard Rohr reminds us in his book, Everything Belongs, the calculating mind is the opposite of the contemplative mind. The first is thought by the system, the second by the spirit. Our workplaces, private spaces, and public gathering spaces carry the emotion of the day, the thoughts we didn't say, the energy we poured out, the plans we made and failed to make. Clearing the space is a kind of exhale, a way of saying, that's enough for now. I wonder what you need to clear with some intention. I haven't found a way to completely eliminate decision fatigue, but I do think we can reduce it. And one way to lighten the load is to clear the space on the regular, in our exterior world and in our interior world, so that we have a little more room to navigate our questions, our schedules, and our daily lives as we continue to do our next right thing in love. Thanks for listening to episode 372 of The Next Right Thing. I hope this simple practice of clearing your space can be just one more rung on the trellis upon which your rhythm of life can continue to grow. Because while it's true this is a podcast about making decisions, the bigger truth is our daily decisions are making our lives. If you've been craving space like me and you don't have the luxury of looking at something far away, like from the shore of the ocean or the edge of a cornfield, maybe today your next right thing is as simple as closing your laptop, clearing off the counter, taking a breath before bedtime. The invitation is not to finish everything. It's simply to mark the end with care. And in doing so, to remind yourself, you are not your productivity. You are not your pace. You are a person, whole held and home again. As always, you can find me online at emilypfreeman.com or on Instagram at emilypfreeman. This episode was edited by the team at Unmutable and organized by Ashley Sherlock. In closing, here are a few words from Shauna Niequist in her book, Present Over Perfect. What I didn't understand until I cleared away the clutter was that the clutter was the barrier. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.